Number 10. Seizing control. As part of a countersuit regarding the dispute surrounding the sale of the winery shares, Angelina Jolie's former company Nouvelle has claimed that Brad Pitt wanted only to control the winery estate, Chateau Miraval, and that is why he is upset about the selling of the shares. In actuality, they claim he only wanted to control the joint financial venture and for years has been pushing them out and wasting assets on lavish projects that they deem completely unnecessary and unrelated to the winery's success, including a swimming pool and a recording studio, which I gotta say, doesn't seem super relevant to making wine, but you know. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you find this whole feud that's been going on for years between Brad and Angelina to be pretty crazy, let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. I think it's pretty crazy. Pretty sad, really. Number 9. Juliette Lewis. While this relationship has been lovingly reminisced on by both Juliette Lewis and Brad Pitt, the fact remains that it's kind of an odd one, even for the time period. The two ended up meeting on the set of California, with both of them being considered young, hopeful talents of Hollywood at the time. They dated for 4 years and seemed to have a great and beautiful romance, and just as Brad Pitt was actually getting ready to blow up, basically. But there was something a little odd about this relationship. When they started seeing each other, there was a 10-year gap between them. Now, this might not seem super strange, considering there have been, you know, bigger age gaps in celebrity couples and in regular couples, and for some, that still seems pretty normal. But the real weird part of it was that they were at two very different sort of points in their life, with Brad being 27 or turning 27 and Juliette only being 17. Yeah, so she was still in high school, which I mean, I guess they could still connect over work, both being performers, but other than that, their life experiences would have been probably pretty different at that point. Some people still find this to be an odd relationship today, especially considering it managed to go strong for 4 years. However, both of them still remember it pretty fondly, although they no longer talk, which I think is pretty weird, but I guess it was a long time ago. Number 8. The divorce. I think one of the biggest red flags that people tend to overlook in cases like this is when things drag on. It's never a good sign, and it can usually mean that there are bigger issues that are kind of being like danced around but not really unearthed or talked about. People who are able to put the past behind them and just move forward generally have nothing to dance around. That's why it's, you know, so easy for them to just move forward with their lives. They have let go and they don't hold things against their former partner. But with Brad and Angelina, both of them seem to be struggling to let go and are still stuck in disagreements with each other even to this day, which could be an indicator that there is a bigger reason as to why they split, other than just deciding to go their own way. And that's what we're beginning to see really delved into now, as Jolie seems to realize that she maybe has to lay it all out or she'll never really be free. That she has to dive into some traumatic moments that she perhaps would have rather been kept a little bit more private and less publicized. There's also the fact that it took them 3 years to get themselves legally declared as single. Just declared as single, which is a long time. A standard divorce, by the way, takes between 4 to 6 months to get finalized, although obviously when there's custody battles and stuff involved, it can take longer, but it's still been a long time, even considering that. Number 7. Addiction. After the split between Brad and Angelina, Pitt cited personal problems as one of the issues for sort of the arguments that led to their divorce. In response, he decided it was time to do something about these problems and admitted himself to AA. This might not be a red flag in the sense that obviously going to AA is a good thing if you have a problem all in all, but it is a red flag that he did so right after the divorce, implying that his misuse had gotten to the point that it was dramatically affecting his life, with the divorce and whatever happened to trigger it kind of acting as a wake-up call for him, which kind of could be an indicator that there's something worse there. At least there was in the past, you know? Number 6. NDA. In the current legal battle between Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, the two are now feuding over the winery that they once shared and what Angelina decided to do with said shares. Initially, the two had an agreement that they would get clearance before selling, but when Jolie sold her shares behind Pitt's back, he protested. It was reported that Jolie wanted out of the joint business ventures and that Pitt was willing to buy the shares, but then their deal fell through, and this was apparently after months of them negotiating. Well, Pitt claims this was so that Jolie could purposefully harm him after he was awarded shared custody of their 6 children. Jolie claims their deal actually fell through because Pitt wanted her to sign an NDA as part of the sale to him. Jolie was unwilling to sign that NDA as she felt this would limit her capacity to speak the truth of why their marriage dissolved and problems surrounding it. She obviously just didn't want to be silenced, if that is the case. While the two have differing stories as to why this deal fell apart, if Jolie is speaking true, why did Brad want to keep her quiet? And what were the terms of the NDA covering? Also, if it was their relationship, how does that relate to selling the winery? That doesn't seem like it should be included at all. Number 5. Harvey Weinstein. Although some say that Brad Pitt was one of the few who stood up to this unfortunately wasn't always the case. When it comes to his relationship with the notorious producer, many tell of the 1995 story where Pitt stood up to him to protect his then girlfriend Gwyneth Paltrow, who confessed that Weinstein had severely mistreated her, which to be honest is an understatement. However, what those people seem to be missing or not focusing on is the fact that after this incident, although Pitt did stand up to him, he also later worked with him. What? The 2009 film Inglourious Basterds, which Pitt starred in, was both distributed by and co-financed by the Weinstein Company. Angelina Jolie claims that Brad Pitt also approached the producer to work on his 2012 film Killing Them Softly, whose company ended up as the distributor for that film, which really hurt her because she also had a bad experience with him too. So, like, what? It's also pretty messed up, I feel like, if you do that when, your wife is like, please don't work with this person. Number 4, she said. So Brad Pitt is complicated when it comes to his history with Harvey Weinstein. He privately spoke out against him years ago in the 90s when he, actively threatened the man when he put his hands on Paltrow, but then he was willing to work with him in 2009 and the 2010s. In 2019, he spoke out against the man, however, disavowing him and sharing the story of his experience defending Paltrow in the 90s. He also went on to executive produce the film She Said. Some people though deem this to be quite controversial, considering that Brad Pitt also seemed to be willing to work with him only a few years ago, which seems hypocritical. Is it all a show, or does Brad Pitt genuinely condemn this man? She Said is a film that follows the New York Times investigation of Weinstein and is also being produced by Pitt's production company, Plan B Entertainment. Number 3, allegations. Recently, things have escalated quite a bit in the legal cases between Brad and Angelina, with Angelina even bringing up a previous incident that seems to be the inciting one in terms of their divorce. She alleges that Brad severely mistreated her and their children while on a flight, and based on the account given, that's truly an understatement here. It's said that Brad Pitt was under the influence and verbally attacked Angelina before turning on the kids when they came to their mother's defense, even getting physical. She also has attested that she and the kids are willing to provide evidence of this in court, and she's even willing to testify. Number 2, the kids don't want to see him. While Brad Pitt reportedly does see his younger kids but prefers to do so unphotographed, which honestly makes sense. I mean, who wants paparazzi around at all really to photograph anything other than maybe like a movie premiere? That's the only time, I think. It's also reported that he perhaps hasn't seen his older kids in years. In fact, according to a source for US Weekly, Pitt does not have any kind of relationship with his eldest son, Maddox, and doesn't talk to Pax either. In fact, it seems that the inciting incident on the airplane in 2016 is likely where the breakdown of the relationship between son Maddox and father Brad began. The source is saying ever since then, it's been really rough between them. However, according to a source for People, Pitt does still see and maintain a good relationship with his younger children, having nightly dinners with them whenever they are in LA. But it's interesting that his older kids seem to not want to see him, especially as, they're older, so they kind of have more, I guess, more agency in making that choice. Number 1, testimony. Maddox doesn't only not have a good relationship with his father, but reportedly also testified against him during the custody battle. Although we don't know exactly what was said, an exclusive source told US Weekly, Maddox has already given testimony as an adult in the ongoing custody dispute, and it wasn't very flattering towards Brad. It's also been said that the distance is so great that Maddox even wants to legally change his name. The source added he doesn't use Pitt as his last name on documents that aren't legal, and instead uses Jolie. Maddox wants to legally change his last name to Jolie, which Angelina has said she doesn't support.
Number 10, old videos. Since the scandal broke, so many people have been searching through videos of Ned and Alex together, and the result is very telling. Every single video gets progressively worse when you realize that Ned and Alex had been seeing each other in secret. In fact, most of the content with them together has not aged well at all, because you can clearly see the two of them flirting on camera. There was a video of Ned where he looked genuinely disappointed that Alex didn't pick him to team up with her for a game, and another video where he was in the hot tub laying his head on her lap, while the other guys exchanged uncomfortable glances at each other. Alex clearly didn't seem to mind though, but it was very strange because he was still her boss. One of the comments on the video says, "How was it just normal for a married man to put his head on another woman's thighs, and we all ignored it?" In fact, if you go through the past Try Guys' videos, there are just so many clues that Alex was Ned's side piece. It's insane. Talk about foreshadowing. If you're loving this video so far, please hit that like button, it would really help us out. Number 9, defending Alex. For some reason, the Try Guys seem to be pretty confident defending the woman who was cheating with Ned. In fact, all of them still follow Alex Herring on social media. In their new video statement, Eugene pleaded with fans to exercise kindness because women tend to get more hate than men on the internet in this this kind of situation. He was insinuating that Alex has been receiving a lot of criticism from fans, and they need to back off. So even though she cheated on her own fiance Will Thayer and emotionally ruined Ned's wife Ariel, it seems like Alex is walking away from all of this without a scratch. The Try Guys haven't publicly denounced her like they did with their executive producer, and they have made no moves to fire her, although that could be a legal risk for the company because as an employee, she could argue that she was coerced to enter the relationship because of the power that Ned had over her in the workplace. So the situation is certainly complicated. Number 8, they all knew. Despite the fact that they've known each other for years and built a successful brand together, the rest of the Try Guys wasted no time in cutting ties with their friend and released a statement just 2 days after the news broke out. On their official Instagram page, they stated that Ned had been fired. Quote, "Ned Fulmer is no longer working for the Try Guys. As a result of an internal review, we do not see a path forward together. We thank you for your support as we navigate through this change." This action was so swift that it surprised a lot of people. But this is because they actually found out about Ned's affair 4 weeks before they made the announcement. Keith confirmed that the Try Guys were alerted to the scandal on September the 5th, and from there the company launched a 3-week investigation into his actions. An inside source claimed that during the investigation it was discovered that the employees knew what was up between Ned and Alex because they noticed flirting, lunchtime hookups, occasional sleepovers, and that the two of them constantly went to events together. Number 7, multiple women. An Instagram page called Dumois has come forward with several blind items that claim that Ned cheated on Ariel with more than one woman, and some of the allegations date back several years. One anonymous user, claiming to be a former BuzzFeed employee, said, "This is not his first rodeo. Trust me, he's always been like this, and I can confirm that someone else might be coming forward because there have been other former BuzzFeed employees and former co-workers from BuzzFeed that know things and have experienced things. There are a lot of things about Ned that will spill in the next few days." Another user recounted her own story involving Ned. She wrote, "Early in 2016, I had just turned 21 and was doing stupid stuff. I sent Ned Fulmer a sexy selfie of me on Snapchat. He responded asking for more, and this went on for a few months. He was coming to Miami with the Try Guys and wanted to meet up one-on-one. I ended up declining. I'm positive this is just the first girl he's been caught with." Number 6, fake personas. The success of the Try Guys' brand really has nothing to do with the content that they put out there. It's more about their performance of authenticity and the promise that the character on screen and the human behind the character are largely the same. This is especially true in their characters as nice guys. Keith even said, quote, "There's always some layer of performance on top of who you are, so the more I've been able to cultivate Keith as a character and have me be the same is great." So in other words, even real life Keith said that he wants to be more like the Keith that's on screen. And because all of the Try Guys are very publicly partnered, that only added to their personas. Ned actually said, "I became kind of known for my own relationship, and then we did more of it. I just kind of do it because digital media and YouTube culture is kind of showing who you are as a person." But in the end, this became the channel's downfall, because when Ned's facade fell away, the fans felt lied to. Number 5, year-long affair. Like a stubborn weed that won't stop sprouting, the Ned Fulmer cheating scandal is blooming at a rapid pace. There is now a claim out there that their workplace relationship actually dates back to December last year. A source close to Will Thayer, Alex's ex-fiance, said that Will went through her phone and saw that her and Ned had first hooked up on a work trip in December. Will was able to forgive Alex, but apparently he reached out to Ned, warning him to back off. Then at the start of September, both Will and Ariel received photos and videos of Ned and Alex making out at a club, as well as holding hands in public while they were out in New York City. The timing was incredibly awkward because Ariel had just landed in New York to hang out with the group when she received those messages. She then confronted Ned, who confirmed that he and Alex had been in a relationship for almost a year. Upon finding out, Ariel then hightailed it out of the city and flew back to LA, which makes complete sense because how could she stay there after that? Number 4, sneaking around. Fans started to suspect that Ned was cheating when they noticed that he wasn't involved in the group's videos for the last couple of weeks. In late September, the tweet that prefaced the drama wrote, "Ned has not been present in some of the recent Try Guys' projects. Ned does not appear in the past 3 videos or intros. He also was not in the past 3 podcast episodes." As the main producer and one of the faces of the company, fans found this extremely worrying, and pretty soon it started to look like one of the Try Guys was trying infidelity. So they became more vigilant of his appearances on the channel. It was also very suspicious that Ned and Alex were seen in an Instagram photo promoting Keith's new Eat the Menu series, but they were not seen seen in the final cut of the video. So Ned had essentially been absent quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, but now we know that the company was most likely investigating him at the time, so he might have even been suspended from the workplace entirely. Number 3, BuzzFeed reaction. They say that no one knows you better than your co-workers, and in Ned's case that might be true as well. Former BuzzFeed alum Devin Lytle tweeted, "2022, the year we realized that wife guys are still guys." Jasmine Robbins posted a cryptic meme with Kermit the Frog and wrote, "Y'all shocked?" So she made it seem like the affair between Ned and Alex was something of an open secret back when they both worked at BuzzFeed. One Twitter user responded by saying, "Makes me feel like Ned had wandering eyes for a long time. Maybe that's why he made the 'I love my wife' thing his thing, to overcompensate. Couples who always flaunt how happy they are and in love they are usually have something to prove. It was right in front of us the whole time, I guess." So it's entirely possible that Ned's on-camera nice guy persona was exactly that, just a persona, and that behind the scenes he has no issues cheating on his wife. Number 2, office hookup. In such a small workplace, a lot of people are wondering how it is that the Try Guys didn't seem to notice the affair, because according to their new video statement, Ned had admitted to them that it had been going on for quite some time. Ned was the executive producer of the Try Guys. The 35-year-old comedian and author founded the group in 2014 while working for BuzzFeed, so he was pretty much at the top of the office pyramid. Alex Herring, on the other hand, worked under Ned as the associate producer, and even though Ned called it a consensual workplace relationship, everyone knows that Alex was his employee. In fact, she's been featured in tons of videos over the years, and casual fans of the channel have gotten to know her pretty well. It's obvious that everyone in the Try Guys' workplace is very close with each other, so a lot of people are scratching their heads at how such a problematic relationship was allowed to flourish unnoticed. And number 1, their audience. If you've watched any of the Try Guys' videos, references to Ned's wife abounded from the very beginning. In fact, just the way he says "my wife" has earned catchphrase status and inspired countless compilation videos, and even official Try Guys merchandise, including a figurine with a plastic Ned that repeats the phrase "my wife" at the press of a button. In general, fans felt that the Try Guys were walking examples of non-toxic masculinity, and so the men were put on a bit of a pedestal. In fact, of the more than 7.5 million subscribers to their channel, the vast majority of the audience is women, nearly 80%. The age demographic is young women in their late teens and early 20s. Having a large female audience is not a red flag, but it goes to show you that there was always a performative aspect to the group's feminism. I mean, that's the whole reason for their fan base. In a way, Ned's infidelity proves that the Try Guys do not necessarily hold the same values that they claim to represent on screen.